Why am I out of focus? Oh, there we go. Hey, yeah, okay, so for the last, why does this keep going out of focus? Okay, I think I'm in focus now. So seeing as this is the last tutorial of the year, I did a lap of the building because I knew what tools I wanted to do, but I couldn't think of exactly the object that was going to really inspire me. So I went around and was just kind of asking people. Hey, do you have any ideas on something I could do for this last tutorial of the year?
I'm too busy for that.
Offhand, no, but why are you bothering me?
No, I'm busy right now. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Who are you again?
Folks, just between me and YouTube. So I stole this from the library because I saw it in the display case, and I thought this would be a perfect thing to try to kind of replicate in a 3D model. This is an old film reel, but older than me. Yes, I'm not that old. I'm like still cool and hip and stuff. So this is a film reel. What I like about it in terms of tools that we can use, you already know how to revolve a shape, but this has some like shapes in it that go this way. So if we revolve it, we need to remove those shapes. So we are going to kind of recreate this because it's going to teach you a couple of new shapes in a pattern, a two-dimensional pattern, and also cutting away material to create more complicated shapes than you have done before. And eventually I will return this to the library so I don't get in trouble. So I measured the diameter of this, and the diameter is going to be the full distance across the circle, and it was 12 inches. And then the inner part, there's sort of a center disc, and that's what the film would have like sat on, and that is a 5-inch circle. So we're gonna kind of cut this in half, just like we did for the rocket, and then we're gonna create this shape. So I've got, if it's 5 all the way across, it's going to be 2.5 halfway across. But then also from the same center point out to the edge, we've got this going out. If this whole distance is a foot, that it's 12 inches, and then half of that would be 6. So it's going to be 6 from the center to the outside to this sheet metal piece. We'll give this just a real thin diameter. We're just kind of creating a mock model of this just so we can get it. So I'm going to get into Onshape, and we're going to model those parts.
Okay, so this is the film reel that, well, I mean, this is an empty document, but we're going to turn it into the film reel that I was just showing you. So pretty much every time we go into this, we're just going to need to start with a sketch. So I'm going to create a new sketch, and I'm going to put this one on the top this time. So now I'm drawing basically on the table. So I'm going to use the top on my navigation cube. So I'm looking straight down. So now I've got to go through and draw my really rough version of half of the film reel. So it had like that center core, and then from the same corner I went out, and there's going to be like a thin thing, and then from the other side there's going to be another thin thing. So this doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, now I'm going to go in and make it perfect, so it didn't matter if I spent the time to try to make things the exact size and all that. So let me go in with the dimension tool and make things the way I want them to be. So the length of the long fin, if all the way across was 12, halfway across is 6. Same thing down here, just to make sure that it is matching, which it wasn't. Now it is. Cool. And then this next thing, I've got to click twice. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to click here on the center. Now it'll let me dimension the in-between there. So I said that center core was 5, so this is going to be 2.5. And then I hit enter. So that takes care of the lengths of these things. Now in terms of the width of the center reel that the film was on, I'm going to say that it was 1.5 inches. 1.5, and then I'll just tap on that to kind of zoom it back to center. I actually don't want that going that way, which is what happened. It like went this pushed up into that, and I want that on the other side. So I'm gonna hit escape, and I'm gonna see if I can drag that line. There we go, on the other side. There we go, because I don't want that intersecting into there. It defeats the purpose of the 1.5 there. So now I'm going to dimension this line here, And the cool thing about CAD programs is they're very good at doing math. So if I type 1 divided by 16, it will do that for me, and I can just hit enter. Now it is 1/16 of an inch. If you put them too close together for you to like easily click on that line, you can also click on both sides. So if I click on that side and then the other side, it'll let you do that. And then I can move this kind of over here, so it's on my way, and then type again 1 divided by 16. And now that is the length that I want it. So I've got 1/16, 1/16 for my thicknesses there. And I've got 1.5 for the width of the film reel. And then this is 6 inches long. And then this is 2.5 inches long. Again, these like lengths from this will be the core are half of the distance that they were on the reel. So now I'm going to say I'm done with the sketch. And I'm going to go into a different view so I can see this in more of a 3-dimensional way. I'm going to go to revolve like we did in the rocket. And I'm going to select faces and sketch regions to revolve. I have to pick 3 of them this time. I'm going to pick that fin, that center, and that fin. And then I will pick the revolve axis as that middle, like that line that I did over there. And then that spins it around. I can say OK.
Okay, so now you can see that you have like this shape, but you don't have the holes in here. I think this is like cut down on weight. There's a bit of a pattern design. There was another one in the display case. Maybe I'll take a picture of it and go on location. Actually, you know what? Let's go on location so I can show you the one that I didn't steal. Okay, so the librarians are still not in the library, so I can show you. There's the other film reel. You can see it's got a different shape to it. But you can create that if you want, something more like that. Or you can do one like this. And I got to put this back in the display case before I get caught. So just a couple of options, a couple of design choices. You can really do whatever you want with this step as long as you've got some sort of radial pattern on your film reel. Okay, so I'll just put this back and nobody will ever know. Huh?
Hey, what are you doing?
What? Uh-oh. Hi. Hey, how's it going? Have a good one. Bye. Have a good break.
So as I was saying, so this is the kind of blank, but I want to put the kind of little pattern in there. So I'm going to show you a couple of new tools to let us do that. So I'm going to click on the front, just like I did in the beginning, and I'm going to put a sketch on the top of the one side. So you don't have to do this, but I'm going to rotate this just so you can see. It's just sitting there right on the top. So we're going to introduce 2 things with this step. We're going to introduce kind of circular patterns, but we're also going to introduce cutting through to create objects where we couldn't create a positive. We can actually go back and create a negative. So I'm in sketch 2, and I'm going to draw a circle in the middle here that has a diameter of 5 inches, so I can make this however big I want. And then I can go in with the dimension tool and I can select the circle now, and we're going to get a different kind of way of measuring. So that symbol that was just there, that's a symbol for diameter. And I'm going to pick 5 because I want that to be an untouched circle that I don't have a pattern. And there's sort of a look to the film reel. There's holes that are like cut out of the inside of that ring, and there's holes that are cut out from the outside of that ring, but I don't want to, how do I say, I don't want to cut in that line because this represents the surface on the other, like inside this barrel that the film reel is, or the film is actually reeled on. So I'm going to give you an example, but you kind of have some style here, and I'll give you a couple of rules to follow so it works for you. You're only going to want to draw in, let's say, this quadrant up here. So in this area up here, it'll be the only area that I'm going to have you draw because we're going to use a circular pattern to copy it around. The other thing that I've had a problem with is I don't want any of my shapes that I draw touching the middle line. There's just something in a later step that has caused a problem, so don't put shapes in the middle there. So I'm going to go, and there doesn't have to be exact dimensions here as long as you follow those rules. So I'm going to just create kind of arbitrary shapes just to prove this point. I can even use the 3-point arc to play with. Now the 3-point arc works by going point 1 and point 2 are the beginning and the end of the arc. And then if you drag it, you will increase the radius and the arciness of the arc. Please don't tell your English teacher I tried to make that a word. I can do 2 of those. Ooh, it's a shape now. You just have to make sure that this is an actual enclosed shape. Whatever the shapes you're doing, they have to be, whatever shapes you're doing, they just have to be in this quadrant. Oh, it looks like a very concerned face. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna roll with it, and that's fine. It's a very concerned face with like a beard thing, maybe. I don't know. So before I leave this, before I move on, I'm actually going to, I hit the escape key. I'm going to delete this circle. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hit delete. So I've got all these different lines, and I'm going to actually copy them around this circle here. And I'm still in sketch 2, so don't leave sketch 2. So up here, there is a linear pattern button, but I need to use a circular pattern that's hidden below it. So I'll hit the triangle or the arrow there next to it, go down to circular pattern. And now it doesn't work like the 3D pattern does. So although I can click on these lines and they'll turn orange, it doesn't give me like a menu, which I don't particularly like, but that's just how it is. So I'm going to pick these shapes, and you can see it's previewing it around here, but I only copied it 3 times. So wherever you see that 3x, you can double click it, and it's going to let you change that number. I'm going to change it to 4, and I'll hit enter, because that's how many quadrants. If you only stayed in your one quadrant when you copy it 4 times around, everything will fit very nice and symmetric. So what you have to do to get out of this is go off of the side here and double click, and then everything's good. Now, I did want to bring up this thing here that says sketch 2. Some people were concerned about this box. That box really doesn't mean anything. This is sort of a strange situation where it's a piece of paper or glass that you can draw on, but it actually continues past that border. They just put the lines there so you can actually see it, and you have something so you know like what surface this actually is. So now I'm going to check that I'm done with that sketch, and that is going to be the pattern that I'm going to put into this surface, and I'm actually going to cut it all the way through with the next tool. Okay, so these shapes I want to be not there, and I want them to be not there all the way through. So I'm going to reuse a tool that we're familiar with. I'm going to go to extrude, and then I have to select the faces and sketch regions to extrude. So I'm going to pick the shapes that I just made. And you'll see that they're going to pop out here, but we're going to fix that in a minute. So this is fun. Is there a faster way to do this? I'm not 100% sure. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't a different way. But if I select that outer ring, this becomes a problem. So then you have to click it again, and it'll go away. So if you do click something you don't want, you can click it again, and it'll go away. Because I want to extrude the shapes I drew, not the area where the shapes aren't. And that's something that has happened. Doing it other ways inconsistently. So anyways, I click all the shapes. I've got a list now of all the shapes I have. And I want to move this from add to remove. And I want to change the depth to 3, because that way I know it's going all the way in. And now I can hit the checkbox. And then I can rotate this to look and marvel at this new film reel. Will this work in real life? No, because I forgot to put a hole in the middle. But does it look like a film reel? Yes. But does it work as a film reel? No. Because it's in a 3D model and it's all make-believe. But anyways, here you go. This is a film reel. Your shapes can all look different. Your pattern can look different. I just want to conserve this inner barrel. So as far as my students go, you want to be able to see that there's an inner barrel. You've got these outer fins. You've got some sort of cool shape pattern that repeats itself and doesn't look like a really scared frog. I don't know. But there you go. So film reel, teaching you some revolution patterns and negative extrusions. So if you're one of my students, please submit that so I can grade it, and you get credit. Hey everybody, if you're one of my students, feel free to stop watching at this point. I'd like to thank my coworkers for putting up with me randomly wandering around the hallways to see who had an open door during the lunch period for me to ask them to be in my video. So thank you to them for putting up with me and being such good actors at kicking me out of their rooms. Please like and subscribe and comment below for ideas for future projects. If you have them, I would love to try and learn new things, try new things. And I'm learning as I'm teaching, as we all are, especially in 2020. If you're not one of my students and you're doing this for an assignment, feel free to post it on Twitter and tag me at Levine Education so I can see what different people are doing. Hopefully everyone is having a good end of term before the end of 2020. Have a good end of year.